Jessie James West, the biggest fitness YouTuber, asked Jeff Nippard, the best science-based lifter on the internet, to critique his workouts, specifically pull day. Every man looks better with a big back, and we're gonna break down what these two went through to make sure you get the best progress on your pull days. Yo, I just noticed that I got this meth tongue going on. So please don't judge me throughout this video. I took my Methlyne Blue about 20 minutes ago and I did not notice my teeth and my tongue were tainted this much. All right, to kick things off, Jeff and Jessie made a nice joke about Ronnie Coleman and his deadlifts.
Ronnie Coleman says deadlifts for back day.
That's true.
But they moved on to the lat pull down as their first exercise because the deadlift is very straining on the lower half. So Jeff actually recommended starting with the lat pull down. I love the lat pull down, and what I thought was interesting is that Jeff Nippard suggested doing partials after your full length reps. So after you have a full extension and contraction on the lat pull down, he says partials are a good way to squeak out a few more reps. But I agree in a sense. Progressive overload should come first though. Progressive overload is the element of adding weight, sets, or reps over the course of time. Every week, if you're going to do the same exercises, you want to make sure that you're adding either sets, reps, or weight, which we've broken down many times on the Instashred program and the Instashred YouTube channel here, because that is the way to guarantee progress, is by adding something in a minor way every single week. So if you're going to implement partials, make sure that you account for them in the progressive overload element, so that way next week when you go to do the lat pull down again and you increase either sets, reps, or weight, you're taking into account the partials along with the progressive overload element. Curious, have you ever done partials yourself? Jeff Nippard is no joke. He knows what he's talking about. This is considered an advanced training tactic, but partials really do have their place when utilized correctly. Let us know down in the comments if you've ever experienced doing partials yourself in the gym. All right, the Big Daddy's coming soon. My favorite exercise that Jeff and Jessie just nailed is coming up here next. But first, in the video, they touch on next the seated cable row, the T-bar row, and the cross body row. Let's dive into them. The seated cable row, I think they did a great job here. I think this exercise is a great one to work into your 4 or 5 exercise rotation that you would do on any given back day. And the reason being is that I consider this almost like a free weight movement. You really get to recruit a lot of the back muscle when you let that weight really pull you forward, get a good stretch, then you come back and get a good contraction in the back. You're able to work your erectors, your lower back, because you're technically supporting yourself. You're not having to be self-supported. Actually, you are self-supported. That's what I meant, is that you have to hold yourself upright during the movement, bringing your lower back into the movement, which is great for those supportive muscles, as well as working the upper back, which is the primary objective of the cable seated row. If you've never done this movement, you've got to give it a try. Jeff and Jessie are spot on with this one. The movement they touch on next, the T-bar row, is an interesting one because the Big Daddy that I referenced earlier coming up next, I think beats the T-bar row tenfold because of this one element I'll share here in a bit. But on the T-bar row itself, it's a great movement for any injury that you have. If you really can't hold yourself upright and hold a heavy weight down below you, due to sciatica, due to a lower body injury, due to a weak back, then a T-bar row is gonna be great because you're literally lying on a pad while you're doing the row the entire time. So this is a great way to really hit the upper back, tear it up, rip those muscle fibers, and not have to self-support. So for that reason, I think they really did a good job picking the T-bar row as one of many exercises to choose from for back to include in your arsenal. I'll be honest, the next movement they touched on, I am just not a fan on, and I'll share why. Crossbody row. The crossbody row is an isolation exercise where you can really get a good stretch in the lat, but if you're gonna choose anywhere between 4 to 5 exercises on any given back day, which is that sweet spot, I wouldn't include this because it's so isolating that you're not going to get the tonnage and overload that you would from even the many compound exercises that we've mentioned already. So the crossbody row is such a bodybuilding style isolation exercise that really the average gym goer that's trying to just build a good physique, live a good life, and stay healthy, it's not going to be the best bang for the buck for you. All right, we're here, the Big Daddy. All right. This is my absolute favorite exercise, and I'm so glad Jeff and Jessie touched on it as well. The Pendlay Row, baby. This is the best modification of the bent over row, which we should all be familiar with, but it is like 5 times better. The Pendlay Row is a full reset at the bottom, forcing your muscles to do all of the lifting through the whole rep. With the normal bent over row, as you can see, there's a lot of momentum. You can really swing, you can bounce through the movement using other muscle groups and with using momentum itself. But with the Pendlay Row, there's none of that. You can't cheat. You're fully resetting that weight, putting it on the ground, and allowing your body to pull the weight in full from the ground up. There's so much muscle recruitment in the Pendlay Row, and it feels so good. And by good, I mean it hurts. Like, this movement really tears up your back. Doing anywhere from 8 to 10 quality reps with a good amount of weight, you can just feel the overload. It's a fantastic compound movement, and I highly recommend you give it a go. I love putting it first in my back day because that's when I'm most fresh. That's when you're the strongest, and you can really overload the back in such a great way with this movement. One unique thing I thought Jeff and Jessie did was they did this movement on a bumper plate. Jeff recommended doing it on a bumper plate so that you can get a little more stretch in the lat at the bottom of the movement. And that depends on your height. Honestly, I'm 6 foot, so I can really fold over at my hips and still get a good lengthened position at the bottom and fully stretch. But if you are a shorter guy, you're not gonna be able to really allow the weight to go all the way down to the floor before your elbows are bent, you know? I can go all the way down because I've got that length and I have to really fold over. But if you're short, you're probably gonna wanna do what Jeff and Jessie did. Here, as you can see, is standing on a bumper plate because it's gonna allow you to really fold over at the hip, get closer to 90 degrees, which is gonna engage more of your back rather than being at like a 45 degree. And then from there, you can row and still get that full stretch at the bottom of the Pendlay Row movement. So I said it once and I'm gonna say it again, throw the Pendlay Row movement into your back day and make sure you do it first. That's my recommendation because you are most fresh, you're strongest, and you're gonna torch those back muscles and surely make some progress. Now, Jeff also references that the chest supported row we talked about earlier, the T-bar row, is a good substitute for those who may have some kind of injury, a weak back, or you just don't feel like your form's right. The movement doesn't feel right, go ahead and use a variation. The chest supported row or the T-bar row is a great substitute because you're still really focusing on that upper back, okay? But if you can do the Pendlay Row, you gotta give it a try. I literally geek out every time I think about this movement. It is the best by far. So there you go. Pendlay Row is the king of all movements. Jeff and Jessie touch on one more movement that we've got to dive into that I also don't think is going to be optimal for your back day. All right, driving it home, the last exercise Jessie and Jeff dove into is the rear delt fly. Now, I don't like the rear delt fly machine or the cables for this reason. Us average gym goers that are just trying to be beasts and live healthy, functional lifestyles, this isolation movement is so nitty gritty. Like, we're just talking about focusing on the rear delt here, okay? But if you're gonna do 4 to 5 exercises, spend 45 minutes in the gym, I wouldn't use this one as a part of your arsenal because the other movements that we've talked on here are so much more beneficial. There's way more bang for the buck, all right? And the rear delt fly is such a small piece of the puzzle. If you're a bodybuilder trying to build the ultimate well-rounded physique, sure, it's a fantastic exercise if you want to spend a little more time in the gym and you've got that time and you want to make time to do some rear delt flies. But if you're going to stick to a regimen and you want to be in and out in a time-conscious manner, this is not the exercise for you. Stick to those big compound movements when it comes to working our back. It's the biggest part of our entire upper body, and leave the isolation movements out of the routine. So there you have it, the pull day, back day routine done by Jessie James West, the biggest known fitness influencer, and Jeff Nippard, the most science-based lifter on the internet. They did the Pendlay Row, they did the T-bar row, they did the lat pull down, they did the crossbody row, the rear delt fly, but I would suggest sticking to those compound movements. The Pendlay Row is the king of all exercises when it comes to back, okay? The lat pull down, phenomenal. You really nail the lats and the mid back with that one. Good bang for the buck there, good combination. We've got the T-bar row. It's a fantastic back exercise that you're actually supported, okay? So if you maybe did legs the day before, you feel like your back is a little tired or worn out, you don't want to put yourself at risk for injury, try the T-bar row. That's a fantastic one. The seated cable row, man, that one's fantastic as well. You're gonna really smash your mid back, hit your erectors. I would say that's like the closest cable movement to a free weight exercise that you can get. The crossbody row and the rear delt flies, once again, if you've got time and you want to work out a little longer than necessary, throw those into the mix, but make sure that if you're going to incorporate an exercise, you continue to incorporate it because, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, progressive overload is the name of the game and the number one way to consistent progress. If you're not familiar with the progressive overload model that I just mentioned, be sure to check out the video that we've linked right below on the screen, because this is the most important way to guarantee your progress week to week with consistent weight training sessions. You've got to be implementing progressive overload to make sure your body does not adapt and that you continue growing and changing. Thanks for watching us here at Instashred Breakdown, the Jesse and Jeff back day, pull day routine. These are two respectable individuals in the fitness industry, and it was totally worth diving deeper into why they chose these exercises as a part of their back day / pull day. If you really enjoyed this video, we've got a ton more great fitness related content to help you build your best physique and live your best life here at Instashred. You can check out this video here if you're looking for more, and we'll hopefully see you next time.